An experienced wife hunter? When we got married, I thought he would be my man, partner, hero, lover, best friend, and soulmate for the rest of my life. I was always convinced that I would be a loving and devoted wife, faithful to my man in everything, never even looking at anyone else, let alone breaking my vows and ruining my marriage. When I first saw him, we had been married for 8 years and were thinking of adding to our family. I didn't pay much attention to him at first, but there was something about him, something mysterious, obscene, and calculating in the stares I caught from him. However, I knew I could easily put it out of my mind and ignore the way he undressed me with his eyes every time. I was sure my husband was overreacting, making a big deal out of it when he warned me to be careful of this predator, a man known for stealing other men's wives and bedding them as his trophies. Of course, I would never buy into this toxic, ostentatious masculinity that he exuded. Oh, I was the wisest woman in this world, who loved only her man and would never allow herself to be fooled. And I was extremely offended that my spouse doubted my unwavering moral fortitude and strong will to resist temptation. The first time he made love to me, I was hurt that I had fallen victim to his advances. His timing was perfect, right after one of our rare marital fights, one of which he witnessed at a social gathering. My hubby was out of town the next day on business for a week, and I was still seething with rage when this seasoned hunter stopped by to just talk and be friendly. 60 minutes and 2 glasses of wine later, I suddenly found myself on all fours in our marital bed, with his hands supporting my ass in a friendly manner. That insidious serpent I had let into our Garden of Eden took another long use of me that evening, until I collapsed, senseless. After he left, I swore it would never happen again, and I was sure of my ironclad self-discipline. After making love for the 3rd time in the front seat of his Audi R8 convertible that week while hubby was away, I had a little second thought. Having once again cheated on my husband, I resolutely muttered to my lover that I had had enough. I didn't know what had gotten into me, or why I'd been such a fool to give in to his advances. However, I knew for sure that my main man would be home tomorrow, and I was going to end this stormy affair immediately. He smirked a wicked grin and said, "Sure thing, doll." I was sure my loving husband would never suspect a thing. Clean sheets, a horny wife in sexy lingerie, a bottle of his favorite Napa Cabernet, and a night of hot lovemaking for a road-weary and business-weary husband would be enough when he got home. My confidence in my ability to use my feminine wiles to confuse his overly naive and simplistic view of the weaker sex was overwhelming. It was great. I didn't get caught. After that, my vanity and pride made me believe that I could have a lover on the side, and my dear hubby would never discover it, would never know about my betrayal. 2 or 3 times a month for almost a whole year, I let out all my unbridled desires with my stallion. Hotel rooms, his private office, abandoned and remote parking lots, and sometimes my marital bed were all the sites of our explosive rendezvous, so convinced was I that my blind hubby didn't notice these many infidelities. When the sheriff's deputy who approached me at the office asked to see my ID, and then loudly and cheerfully announced, "You've been subpoenaed," I was sure it was some ridiculous and horrible mistake. A spouse who loved me with all his heart would never do such a thing, humiliating me in front of my co-workers and boss, and possibly jeopardizing my career. As I drove home and nervously fidgeted behind the wheel in tears, I knew that if I could just get him to listen to reason, he would instantly give up and forgive me. My confidence in my ability to manipulate and control him would no doubt end this not-so-pleasant day with my victory. Of that, I was convinced. Appropriate words and phrases like soulmates, meaningless feelings, start our family, ready to have a baby, grow old together, would immediately extinguish his possible anger and convince him to give us a second chance. And combined with the uninhibited love I would seduce him into, well, that would put him in his proper place and allow us to forget about such a horrible idea as divorce. As we pulled up to the house, I was already smiling and imagining how our beautiful marriage would move on to a brighter future. I was shocked to hear him give me detailed proof of my infidelity after I thought I had been so careful, so clever, so pleased with my cleverness and dodgy behavior. Turns out my husband had known about my shenanigans for 6 months, but had put off opening the cards while he strategized and made plans. Of course, he was in no way right when he claimed we hadn't had love for over 2 months. As he said, it was because he couldn't bear the thought of touching me while I was giving myself to the man he warned me about. What nonsense! I would have remembered if I hadn't made love to my husband for 2 whole months. I guess. And of course, I was eager to prove to my husband that no lover could have persuaded me to abandon my vows to be a faithful wife to my loving husband. I could not have been more convincing in my magnificent speech, even if I had kept my hand on my Bible while I delivered it. What I was sure of was that he wouldn't have the brains to track down our perverted adventures. But I had dozens of photos laid out on the table in front of me, black and white and color, that would have instantly garnered a bunch of likes on any adult website. But my husband had known about my shenanigans for 6 months, but had put off opening the cards while he strategized and made plans. X. It's just not possible that he has that kind of proof. No, no, no. There is no way that my good and kind-hearted man would have sent out all this information to family and friends, from my parents, siblings, and longtime friends and acquaintances we knew from college. He would never subject me to such public shaming. His puny lawyer with glasses was no better than my magnificent defense attorney, the shark woman, who hated this despicable tribe of bastards, and who always acted in court under the slogan, "Don't take goats prisoner." God, I would love to get the lion's share of the assets and money from all our accounts and make him bitterly regret the day he dared to defy me. What? This couldn't have happened. That dumbass judge can't be on the side of hubby and his pathetic lawyer. It's just unheard of that he kept our house and 75% of all assets. It should have been my house and my assets. In the courtroom, I had heard words like ironclad prenup, reckless disrespect for family, and shamefully promiscuous behavior out of the corner of my ear. But they didn't penetrate my mind, slipping over the edge of my consciousness in a mindless gibberish of words. This must have been some kind of nightmare from which I could have been relieved to wake up any minute. Yes, that's the way it is. Sure enough, my now ex-husband will meet me in the hallway and listen to my final apology, which would have sounded so sincere. And then he will give me a big hug and kiss, forgive my little flaws, and eventually accept me back. After all, men really are that weak-willed. The moment my ex disappeared from the courthouse in the blink of an eye, completely ignoring my screams of, "Wait a minute, we need to talk!" I was not confused, and soon called my lover to cheer him up with the news that I was moving in with him. In any case, he was better than my ex-husband in every way, and I would show my ex-spouse how truly miserable and depressing his life would become without me. 10 minutes later, I hung up the phone, unable to believe my ears. My lover couldn't stop laughing when he heard my idea that he would take me in and we would be happy together. It just couldn't have been what he said when he stopped laughing. "Baby, it was so much fun making love to you while this was all going on. But, you know, I'm not into used junk." Did I hear him add lastly that I could get good money for my body if I offered it to some of his good friends upstate? Come on, he didn't seem cynical enough to have such a low opinion of me. Alone? I couldn't be alone. It's just kind of absurd that almost everyone I knew, with the exception of my mother, refused to even talk to me. And it's absolutely mind-boggling that even my dear mommy, being a kind and gentle person by nature, wouldn't let me move in with her. What is this world coming to? And here I am, standing in the parking lot, all abandoned and alone, holding in my hands and stupidly looking at a positive STD report from my doctor. What the hell is going on? This is unthinkable. In retrospect, I thought I might have made a mistake. What kind of mistake? Where and when? The end.